The Vatican has always been a place wrapped in mystery, a city of secrets we barely begin to understand, but what if I told you that some secrets, once uncovered, might change the way you see everything? Today, we're going to explore what hidden truths lie deep inside the heart of the Vatican. So buckle up, because this journey might challenge everything you thought you knew, and remember, you'll have incredible luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. The Forbidden Black Magic Book. Among ancient texts, one name stands out for its fearsome reputation, the Grand Grimoire, or the Red Dragon. Said to contain rituals for summoning demons, even Lucifer himself, its true origins remain a mystery. Some scholars trace it back to the early 15th century, others say it first appeared in print only in the 18th century. Much of its content is linked to legends of King Solomon, believed to have commanded spirits and possessed supernatural knowledge. But what makes the Grand Grimoire so notorious isn't just what's written inside, it's where some believe it's hidden. Rumors claim that the Vatican keeps an original copy locked deep within its secret archive, either to study it or to keep dangerous knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. There's no proof, no official record, but the legend has persisted for centuries. UFOs and the Vatican. In recent years, UFOs have shifted from being dismissed as science fiction to becoming a topic taken seriously by governments and scientists alike. One striking claim came from David Grusch, a former U.S. intelligence officer. Grusch alleged that, in the late 1930s, a mysterious flying object crashed near Magenta, Italy, under Mussolini's regime. According to Grusch, Mussolini's government hid the wreckage, and after World War II, Pope Pius XII secretly informed the United States about it. The U.S. allegedly recovered the craft in a covert operation. The Vatican has never confirmed this, and Grusch said he couldn't share direct evidence due to national security laws. Skeptics call it conspiracy, but others believe if there's any institution capable of keeping such a secret for nearly a century, it might just be the Vatican. The Vatican's time machine. There's an old rumor about a device called the Chronovisor, a kind of time machine built in secret by a group of scientists and priests in the 1960s. Father Pellegrino Ernetti, a Benedictine monk, claimed it could display scenes from the past as if watching them on a screen. He even said he witnessed the crucifixion of Jesus and took a photograph, though the image was never authenticated. The Vatican has neither confirmed nor entirely denied the Chronovisor's existence. Some believe it could be a dangerous tool if it fell into the wrong hands, able to manipulate history itself. Whether real or invented, the legend of the Chronovisor keeps the mystery alive. The city of the dead beneath the Vatican. Beneath St. Peter's Basilica lies a hidden world, the Vatican Necropolis. This ancient burial ground dates back to the 1st century AD, where pagan Romans were first laid to rest. Higher layers reveal graves from when Christianity began to take hold, blending pagan symbols with Christian crosses, a testament to a world in transition. Among the ruins, archaeologists found remains of a medieval church directly beneath the basilica, showing the site's sacred history stretches back long before today's grand structure. At the center lies a chamber believed to contain the bones of St. Peter, the first pope, though the theory remains debated. Today, the necropolis is more than an archaeological site, it's a silent monument to centuries of faith, power, and transformation. The mysterious death of Pope John Paul. In 1978, Pope John Paul I died suddenly, just 33 days after becoming pope. His death shocked the world, and contradictory reports only fueled suspicion. Some believed he planned to investigate corruption within the Vatican Bank, which at the time was embroiled in scandals involving secretive figures like Bishop Paul Marcinkus and banker Roberto Calvi. Calvi's later death, found hanging under London's Blackfriars Bridge, was officially ruled a suicide, but many suspect foul play. No autopsy was ever performed on the Pope, and the Vatican tightly controlled information. To this day, no one knows for sure whether John Paul I died of natural causes, or because he threatened powerful interests. The Egyptian obelisk at the heart of the Vatican. In the center of St. Peter's Square stands a 3,000-year-old Egyptian obelisk, once erected in Heliopolis to honor the gods of the sun. In the 1st century AD, Emperor Caligula had it transported to Rome, where it stood at the Circus of Nero, a place where early Christians, including Saint Peter, were executed. Centuries later, in 1586, Pope Sixtus V ordered the massive monument moved to its current place. Today, it is no longer seen as a symbol of pagan power but as a silent witness to faith overcoming persecution. St. Peter's Bones. In 2013, for the first time ever, the Vatican displayed fragments of bone believed to belong to St. Peter himself. They were discovered during excavations in 1939, near the traditional site of his burial, yet no independent scientific study has verified them, and the Vatican has declined to allow testing. While the Church holds that faith itself is enough, questions remain. Are they truly the remains of St. Peter, or would the truth reveal something the Vatican isn't ready to confront? The Pope prisoners. After Italy unified in 1871, the Pope refused to recognize the new government, declaring himself a prisoner in the Vatican. For nearly 60 years, popes did not leave Vatican grounds, and the standoff ended only with the Lateran Treaty of 1929, which recognized Vatican City as an independent state. Today, the Pope is no longer a prisoner, but a sovereign head of a unique and powerful city-state. Jesus' death certificate. The Shroud of Turin is among Christianity's most debated relics. Radiocarbon dating suggests it was made in the Middle Ages, yet some researchers, like Barbara Frail, claim to have found faint Greek, Latin, and Hebrew text identifying it as Jesus' burial shroud, a kind of ancient death certificate. The Vatican has stopped short of declaring it authentic, emphasizing instead its spiritual meaning. For the Church, its power lies not in scientific proof but in what it inspires. The Pope escape tunnels. Hidden among the walls of the Vatican is the Passetto di Borgo, an 800-meter escape tunnel connecting the Vatican to Castel Sant'Angelo. Built in the Middle Ages, it served as a secret route for popes in times of danger. During the brutal sack of Rome in 1527, Pope Clement VII fled through the Passetto to safety. Today, visitors can walk its shadowy path, a reminder of how close history came to tragedy. The Vatican's secret archives. Finally, beneath Vatican City lie the Vatican Apostolic Archives, formerly known as the Secret Archives. Spanning over 1,200 years of history, these documents include papal letters, trial records, and reports of events that might change how we see history. Though some documents are now accessible to scholars, much remains hidden, and so, the question remains: what truths lie buried deep within, kept from the world for centuries? The Vatican's hidden vault, secrets and relics. The Vatican's Apostolic Archive is often compared to a kind of CIA vault for the Catholic Church, a place where what the public sees is only the tip of the iceberg. The most significant and sensitive records remain carefully guarded and permanently hidden. Does the Vatican truly conceal profound secrets about history, religion, or even life beyond Earth? We may never know for certain. But one fact is undeniable: with over 53 miles of shelves packed with documents and artifacts, there is still a vast amount the outside world has never seen. The True Cross. Among the Church's most sacred relics, few inspire as much fascination and debate as the True Cross, the piece of wood believed to have held the crucified body of Jesus Christ. According to Catholic tradition, after the crucifixion, the cross was preserved and later divided into fragments. One of these fragments is now kept in the Vatican, drawing thousands of pilgrims each year. Legend tells that the original cross was crafted from 3 types of wood: cedar, pine, and cypress, grown together on a sacred plot of land. Some accounts claim this land once held the foundations of the Temple of Jerusalem, adding even more symbolism to the story. Yet the question remains: how can anyone prove that these fragments truly came from the original cross? No definitive scientific evidence exists. Modern methods such as carbon dating have never been publicly applied, partly because testing would require removing samples and risk damaging the relic. Beyond the Vatican, churches and monasteries around the world also claim to possess pieces of the True Cross. Some researchers argue that if all these fragments were gathered, they would form dozens of full-sized crosses, casting doubt on their authenticity. Yet for many believers, the relic's power lies less in its historical certainty and more in the faith that surrounds it. To see an object believed to have touched Christ remains, for them, a deeply spiritual experience. The Vatican and the Holocaust. The Vatican's role during World War II, especially under Pope Pius XII, has sparked decades of controversy. Critics accuse the Pope of remaining silent as the Nazis carried out the Holocaust, seeing this silence as a form of complicity. Why, they ask, did the Vatican not publicly condemn Hitler's atrocities? Recently discovered documents, however, add complexity to this narrative. A list of 3,200 Jewish people from Rome was found in the archives of the Pontifical Biblical Institute. According to these records, these individuals were hidden in monasteries, convents, and Catholic institutions across the city after Nazi forces occupied Rome in 1943. The list has been verified by Rome's Jewish community, supported by Yad Vashem in Israel and several Catholic universities. This evidence suggests that, while silent in public, the Vatican quietly sheltered thousands of Jews at the very heart of the Catholic world. Yet not everyone sees this as purely an act of compassion. Some scholars argue that many religious institutions offered shelter on the condition that the Jews convert to Catholicism. This raises troubling questions. Was the Vatican acting for mercy, or taking advantage of chaos to encourage conversion? Supporters of Pope Pius XII argue he chose silence to avoid provoking Nazi retaliation, which could have brought even greater devastation to Catholics across Europe. Others maintain that silence in the face of evil is never justified. The newly revealed documents illuminate part of this story but also deepen the mystery. Was the Vatican a bystander, a silent protector, or an institution balancing power and morality? Wherever one stands, this remains among the most complex and sensitive chapters at the intersection of religion and war. The Ark of the Covenant. Few religious objects have captured the human imagination like the Ark of the Covenant. According to the Bible, this wooden chest, overlaid with gold and topped by 2 golden angels, housed the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments. More than a religious artifact, the Ark was believed to carry the very presence of God, capable of blessing the faithful or unleashing divine wrath. Yet around 587 BC, when Babylonian forces destroyed the first temple in Jerusalem, the Ark disappeared from historical records. Its fate has fueled endless theories. Some believe it was destroyed, others think it was hidden before the fall of Jerusalem. And among the most provocative theories is the idea that the Ark may lie hidden today in the Vatican's vaults. One reason this theory persists is the striking resemblance between the Ark and Egyptian ceremonial chests used in religious rituals, wooden boxes covered in gold, carried on poles, and adorned with figures of gods. In Pharaoh Tutankhamun's tomb, archaeologists even discovered a ritual chest remarkably similar to the biblical Ark. If any institution had the resources and secrecy to safeguard such an artifact for centuries, many believe it would be the Vatican. The Church has never confirmed nor denied possession of the Ark, and as so often happens, silence only feeds the legend. The fake mummy scandal. Among the Vatican Museum's vast collections are Egyptian mummies, displayed as part of its Nile civilization section. Yet in 2015, routine preservation scans revealed a surprising truth: some of these mummies were fakes. CT scans and X-rays on 9 mummies showed that 2 did not contain remains of children or animals as labeled, but instead held the bones of 2 medieval adults, a man and a woman from between the 14th and 15th centuries. In one mummy, researchers even found a rusted 19th century nail, used to keep the wrappings in place. These were not authentic ancient mummies but 19th century fabrications, created during Mummy Mania, a period when European collectors and scholars clamored to own Egyptian relics. Demand outstripped supply, leading unscrupulous dealers to wrap recent bones in old linen and sell them as genuine. The Vatican acquired these artifacts long before modern authentication methods like carbon dating or X-ray imaging existed. Purchases were based largely on trust and appearance. This discovery raised uncomfortable questions. If forgeries could enter the Vatican museums, what about other institutions? Yet it's important to note that the Vatican itself was deceived, reflecting the limitations of the era, not deliberate deceit. Emperor Nero's bathtub. Hidden deep within the Vatican museums is an unexpected relic, an ancient Roman bathtub once belonging to Emperor Nero, carved from an extraordinarily rare stone known to the Romans as porphyry. Quarried only from a single site deep in Egypt, this purple stone was so prized that its use was reserved for emperors and temples. The quarry has been exhausted for over 1,500 years, making porphyry today rarer than many gemstones. Reproducing a similar bathtub today would cost an estimated $2 billion, not only due to the scarcity of the stone but because of the exceptional craftsmanship required. To Nero, this was not just a luxurious bath, it was a symbol of absolute power and divine privilege, allowing him to bathe as though he were a god. Porphyry itself embodied imperial authority, used to pave temple floors, create royal thrones, and honor rulers whose names would echo through history. The Vatican's hidden legacies. The Vatican doesn't just house Nero's grand marble bathtub. Wandering through its vast corridors, visitors can also discover mosaic artworks depicting Roman athletes, dating back to the 3rd century. These rare pieces are among the few surviving testaments to an era when sport was more than entertainment, it was a reflection of culture, discipline, and national pride. Recovered from the baths of Caracalla, once a massive public complex that welcomed thousands daily, these mosaics now reside within the Vatican's collection. That might surprise some, but after the fall of the Roman Empire, the Catholic Church emerged as its cultural and spiritual heir. Over centuries, relics from ancient ruins were gathered and preserved within Vatican walls. Nero's tub is just one fragment of this immense legacy. The Altar of Moses. According to the Bible, after leading the Israelites out of Egypt, Moses ascended Mount Sinai to receive God's laws. But before climbing the mountain, he performed a significant ritual. He built an altar from uncut stones and erected 12 stone pillars, each representing one of the 12 tribes of Israel. He then offered animal sacrifices, sprinkling the altar and the people with blood to seal a sacred covenant with God. For many, this is a powerful story of faith. For others, it has long seemed symbolic, a religious myth without archaeological evidence. That is, until recently. At Jabal al-Lawz, a mountain in northwestern Saudi Arabia, independent researchers discovered a curious L-shaped stone structure built entirely from rough, unworked stones, just as the Bible describes. Nearby stood 12 round stone pillars, each about 23 inches in diameter, neatly arranged beside the altar. Inside the altar area, layers of ash, animal bones, and partially burned organic material were found, which initial analysis suggests could be remnants of ritual sacrifices. Despite these striking details, the Saudi government officially rejects any biblical connection, insisting instead that the site belonged to the Nabateans, an ancient people known for stonework and mining. They claim the pillars are simply remnants of an old quarry, and the bones from domestic activities. Yet some Western researchers argue that the location, design, and the very number of stone pillars are too specific to be coincidence. Some even suggest Jabal al-Lawz could be the true Mount Sinai, not the traditionally accepted site in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. If true, this discovery could become one of the clearest archaeological confirmations of a biblical event ever uncovered. So far, however, no major institution has endorsed the claim, and the area remains difficult to access due to political restrictions. Still, the evidence already revealed has reignited faith and debate alike. The fallen popes. For many, becoming pope seems the pinnacle of sacred authority, a position both holy and untouchable. Yet history tells a darker story. Of the 266 men who have sat on the papal throne, at least 42 died under mysterious or violent circumstances. Some were poisoned or executed, others perished in bizarre accidents. These deaths remind us that power, even when cloaked in holiness, has always come with a price. One of the most unsettling stories is that of Pope Formosus. After his death in 896, his successor Pope Stephen VI had his corpse exhumed, dressed in papal vestments, and placed on trial in an event now known as the Cadaver Synod. The corpse was found guilty, 3 fingers said to have blessed the faithful were cut off, and the body was thrown into the Tiber River. Historians still debate whether this grotesque act was driven by politics, hatred, or madness. Other popes led lives that scandalized the Church. Sixtus IV, who reigned from 1471 to 1484, notoriously filled key positions with relatives and was rumored to have fathered illegitimate children. Pope Alexander VI, born Rodrigo Borgia, became infamous for lavish feasts, multiple mistresses, and using his power to elevate his family's status. John XII ascended to the papacy at around 18 years old and was said to have turned the Vatican into a house of debauchery. He died while committing adultery, reportedly either struck by his lover's husband or by a sudden stroke. Some popes met stranger fates still. John XXI, deeply interested in science and medicine, died when the ceiling of his study collapsed on him. Urban VI fell off a mule and died, not mysterious, but certainly undignified for the Vicar of Christ. These stories reveal that the papacy has been not only a symbol of divine authority but also a stage for human ambition, intrigue, and tragedy. Despite the title, popes have always been men. Sometimes undone by the very power they wielded. Homosexuality in the Vatican. The Vatican is often portrayed as a fortress of tradition and conservatism. Yet behind these ancient walls lies a hidden story, the presence of homosexuality within its own clergy. In 2019, French journalist Frédéric Martel published In the Closet of the Vatican, the result of a 4-year investigation drawing from over 1,500 interviews with cardinals, priests, former clergy, and Vatican staff. Martel made a striking claim, that up to 80% of Vatican clergy are homosexual, many living secret double lives. Even more shocking, some of the loudest public voices condemning homosexuality are themselves engaged in same-sex relationships in private. Martel called this a culture of deep hypocrisy embedded at the heart of the Church. While the Vatican hasn't formally acknowledged or denied Martel's figures, the issue goes deeper than personal identity. Experts suggest that such secrecy, in a pressured and hierarchical environment, can foster systemic problems, including the cover-ups of abuse scandals that have plagued the Church for decades. Pope Francis himself once told a survivor of sexual abuse, "God made you like this, and He loves you as you are." The remark was praised by some but criticized by conservative factions. Yet as long as the topic remains taboo, secrecy will continue, harming not only the Church's credibility but also the very people serving within its walls. Did the Vatican fabricate 300 years of history? Among history's most controversial theories is the phantom time hypothesis, the claim that nearly 300 years in our timeline never actually happened. Proposed in the 1990s by German historian Heribert Illig, the theory suggests that the years AD 614 to 911 were fabricated by Pope Sylvester II, Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, and a few allies, to position themselves at the symbolic year 1000. If true, the real year today wouldn't be 2025, but closer to 1725. Illig pointed to several arguments. First, a discrepancy with the calendar. When Pope Gregory XIII reformed the calendar in 1582, he removed only 10 days to realign it with the solar year, when, Illig argues, a larger correction should have been needed if over 1,500 years had really passed. Second, Illig noted that many texts from the early Middle Ages survive only as later copies and often contain inconsistencies, especially in accounts of figures like Charlemagne, who, Illig suggests, may never have existed as described. Finally, Illig argued that there's a surprising lack of archaeological evidence from those centuries compared to other periods. Mainstream historians reject the theory, citing clear evidence from other regions, such as the Middle East and China, that aligns with Europe's timeline, making a global conspiracy unlikely. Yet the theory endures, raising a deeper question: if powerful leaders could rewrite history, would we even realize? The missing books of the Bible. The Bible is Christianity's most sacred text, yet the version read today isn't identical to its earlier form. When the King James Bible was first published in 1611, it included 80 books. By 1684, 14 of those books had been removed. These are known as the Apocrypha, a Greek term meaning hidden. They include texts such as Esdras, Tobit, Judith, Wisdom of Solomon, Baruch, the Prayer of Manasses, and Maccabees. Once read and taught in churches, they offered rich narratives, prayers, and moral teachings. Another debated detail is the name of Jesus. Earlier texts used Yehoshua, closer to the Hebrew original. Over time, this became Jesus, a change some see as part of efforts to align Christianity more closely with Roman and Western culture. Regardless of motive, one fact remains: 14 books once officially part of the Bible were quietly removed, shaping the faith of millions ever since. Extraterrestrials and the Vatican. In the 1920s, Russian professor Genrikh Ludwig claimed he had been granted access to the Vatican's secret archives, an immense vault said to stretch for miles, filled with thousands of documents dating back centuries. Among political and religious manuscripts, Ludwig claimed to have found ancient texts describing non-human beings who aided early civilizations like the Egyptians, Mayans, and Sumerians. These beings, he said, taught humanity to build cities, invent agriculture, and develop writing systems. Some passages even described weapons of immense destructive power, reminiscent of nuclear arms, and mentioned the walls of Babylon being melted by an intense heat source. Ludwig offered no physical evidence, he was not allowed to remove documents, and his account remains unverified. Many dismiss it as myth or fabrication. Yet his story echoes broader theories. How did early civilizations advance so quickly in architecture, astronomy, and engineering? Could they have received help from beyond Earth? And if so, might the Vatican possess records it has chosen to keep secret?